Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us today for the complimentary ICMI webinar, How to Harness the Power of Chat in Your Contact Center, sponsored by Bold Chat by LogMeIn. I'm Erica Strother-Maroy, Community Specialist here at ICMI, and I'll be your moderator today. Before we begin, we have just a few announcements. First, make sure you disable your pop-up blocker if it's on. You'll notice there are several icons at the bottom of your console window, and the first one allows you to view the presentation slides, so please make sure to maximize this one. Next, you'll see a Q&A icon. We'll be saving some time at the end of this presentation to answer audience questions, and you can participate by submitting a question at any time throughout the presentation. All you need to do is type your question into that window and click Submit. Now, if you experience any technical problems during the presentation, you can click the question mark icon on our console to access the event help guide. Clicking on the other icons you see on your console will give you access to speaker bios, more information about our sponsor Bold Chat by LogMeIn, as well as some information regarding upcoming ICMI events, resources, and research. And we do encourage you to be social during this event. You can access your Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn accounts direct through the console, so please keep the conversations going and share what you learn. Now it's my pleasure to introduce today's speakers. I'm joined today by two esteemed industry experts. Leslie Oplehaven is founder and principal at eWrite, and Ross Haskell is Senior Director of Products for Bold Chat by LogMeIn. Now, as I did mention earlier, you can learn more about both of our speakers by clicking on the speaker bios icon on your console. And with that, we'll go ahead and get going. But before I turn things over to our speakers, I'd love to just share a little bit of background information on the inspiration for today's presentation. So when ICMI polled our community to seek insight for future webinar topics, we saw that there was a huge demand for more resources on live chat support. And this doesn't come as a surprise, since recent ICMI and Harris research backs up the idea that chat is only growing in popularity. Surprisingly, though, while more and more customers are expressing the desire to use chat, an ICMI survey from earlier this summer revealed that only 36% of contact centers today actually enable their customers to interact with a representative using online chat. And a Harris poll from this year revealed that more than half of customers would now prefer to use online chat before calling a company for service. And there's no indication that the desire is slowing down anytime soon. So it's safe to say that chat plays a critical role in the customer experience today. And whether you're just getting started with chat, looking for ways to improve your current offerings, or considering an investment for 2016, we want to arm you today with the tools and tips that you need to succeed. So at this time, I would love to turn things over to Ross, who's going to get us started with a quick poll, and then share some of his recent research findings on chat as a support channel.
Thanks very much. I appreciate it, and I thank everyone for giving us some time today. Hope you get a lot of good information from the webinar. I think what we'll do first is start with a poll question. You should see that on your screen now. Just curious about how many folks out there who are listening today currently offer support via live chat. So you have three choices. You can say, yes, we do, no, we don't, or no, but we're planning on implementing something within the next calendar year, 12 months. So I'll wait just a moment while you all respond to that, and then we'll look at the results and we'll share. All right. So about half are offering chat. Another 25% are planning to, and about 20% are not currently doing it. So this is actually really good. I'm happy to see that half the folks are actually offering live chat support. We asked this question in a more formal way in partnership with Ovum, a research firm, and we found that live chat is a top priority for investment for this year. We asked this question in the beginning part of the year, and as you can see at the top there, live chat for sales support is either an initiative that companies already do or are planning to do in 2015. Followed by remote login support, and then followed by, again, live chat for after-sales support. So it's definitely a top priority for companies, both in a selling environment and in a support environment. And I'm happy to see that this research pretty much lines up with the results of our poll. A little bit more findings from that Ovum report. We asked consumers the channels that work, the ones that solve the problem with the first engagement interaction. And as you can see, live chat appears in the top 3. The phone was number 1, email was number 2, and live chat was number 3, followed by some other things, including mobile. And speaking of mobile, in another piece of research that we have done called Effective Mobile Engagement, we asked folks how frequently they use their mobile devices to contact companies across a wide variety of scenarios, most of those scenarios being support-related, seeking asking a general question or updating account information, asking a question about a bill, so forth, so seeking technical support. And what we found out, first of all, is that a lot of people do this with a lot of frequency. It's up to about half the population does this either very frequently or all the time. We then asked, okay, and how? How are you doing this with your mobile devices? What channels you're using? And to be honest, we fully expected phone to be very, very high and to win because, obviously, many mobile devices in use out there are phones, smartphones. And we did find that phone was high, but it wasn't the highest, and it continues to be interesting year over year. So the slide that you're looking at here are what channels folks use from their mobile devices, and as you can see, phone is in use, but email is very popular, and other channels like live chat are also being utilized. So, and that's all to say that live chat is effective. It's top of mind for many companies to get deployed, and I think it's interesting that we as a live chat provider, we've done a lot of research like this, and one of the things that we find out is a very interesting finding, which is that the success of a chat session, according to the consumers who we've surveyed for now 7, 8, 9, going on 10 years, has really nothing to do with the technology. So there's certainly things that technology can do to help the agent, but really what determines a chat session success is the agent, the product knowledge of the agent, the speed with which the agent responds, and how effective they are using a text-based form of communication. And that's why I'm happy to have Leslie here today, because I'm going to turn the presentation over to her at this point to walk us through some best practices around using a text-based communication method like chat and what you can do to ensure that your agents are as effective as possible.
Wow, thanks a lot. Wonderful, Ross. Thank you. All right, so I am going to talk with you now about the writing skills agents need to provide successful chat support. I basically see the world of customer care through the lens of writing. I'm concerned with and wanting to support companies to help their agents write really well to customers in many different channels. And I'm so pleased with the research that Ross has reported about the popularity, the growing popularity of chat, because for many customer service agents who began their life serving customers on the phone, email was a tremendous loss. They didn't have the interactive experience with customers. They couldn't use their finely honed probing skills to figure out what the customer's real difficulty or real need was via email. And many customer service agents struggle to write email well, especially if the customer provides inadequate information in the initial email. Chat doesn't have those problems. Chat is a little bit like written phone, because the opportunity for back and forth interaction, for engagement, and for analysis, the agent can analyze, can probe, can query the customer so that she can provide excellent help. That opportunity is there with chat, and it makes chat a very popular and channel for customers and for agents as well. So today I'm going to talk through what I consider 6 important skills that customer service agents need to write chat to customers. I called these 6 essential skills. Quite honestly, if we had a much longer webinar, I probably would have added essential skills to this list. But this is a boiled down list that we can discuss, we can cover in the time we have. So I'll run through these very quickly while we're looking at this slide, and then what I'd like to show you today is examples of chat transcripts where the customer service agent either shows that he or she has these chat writing skills or sadly shows that the skills are lacking. So what I am calling the 6 essential writing skills are the ability, number 1, the ability to answer customers' questions and solve customers' problems. In my opinion, unless the agent can do both, answer and solve, the answering isn't important enough on its own. The agent has to be able to solve the problem. Number 2, mixed templates and free text. Whether we should use templated or pre-written content in chats with customers is a bit controversial. One of the best things about chat is that it's natural, it's in the moment, it's synchronous, and so to use canned answers or templates when you're writing chats to customers can seem like, in some cases, can seem like a bad idea, or that it will cost you too much in your efforts to build rapport or to sound natural when you're chatting. But there is some content that is better copied and pasted or automatically inserted than keyboarded each time. And in some cases, templates work very well. Essential writing skill number 3 is the ability to ask probing questions and to ask them in a sequence that makes sense during the chat. Number 4 is the ability to handle delays with grace. And I mean to use writing to show that you are handling your delays, if you're the customer service agent, with grace, and that you're also handling the customer's delays with grace. Because one thing that new chat agents are often surprised about is that the customers disappear on them during chat. Chat is a channel people often choose when they are appearing to be doing something else, like listening during a meeting or participating in a phone call. And sometimes the customers themselves cause delays. They cause delays when they go find their social security number or their credit card if they have to provide information like that. They're often distracted during the chat, and being able to handle those delays is really important. Number 5, use a friendly conversational tone. This is essential in chat. Chat is built for connection. And number 6, avoid spelling, grammar, or punctuation errors that cause confusion or embarrassment. You know, they might say once an English teacher, always an English teacher, and really I am an English teacher. But I think that many chats can absorb the occasional spelling or punctuation error if the quality of the information is high. So I have categorized the type of grammar, spelling, or punctuation errors that are forbidden as ones that are causing confusion or they're embarrassing. If the agent regularly misspells the customer's name, that's embarrassing. If the agent has a comma error in a series of instructions, that's confusing. So those types of errors are the ones they need to avoid. Now, having described the 6 essential skills, I want to do what I promised, and that is I'm going to show you some actual, authentic chat transcripts that either demonstrate these skills or demonstrate the lack of the skill. And here is the first one. This is the first writing skill, the ability to answer customers' questions and solve their problems. And I'm sharing a chat transcript, a short one, with you from Crate & Barrel, the retailer of very fabulous home products. And I put my name in as the customer's name. In each case, the customer's and agent's names have been changed, and all of the account numbers have been changed, that kind of thing. So the customer is named Leslie. Her first question is, I'd like to buy a bird bath or a bird feeder. Do you sell either of these? Susan says she's happy to help. She'll check. She does a little research and says, we've carried them in the past, but we don't have any at this time. I'm sorry. The customer says, thanks, my pleasure. the classic question, the risky question, is there anything else I can help with you today? And Leslie says, no thanks, enjoy your evening, and the chat closes down. I call this question, is there anything else I can help you with today, a very risky one, because in my opinion, the agent, Susan, did not help the customer and did not solve the problem, though she did answer the question. So in this first example, I'm showing you a big, old, hairy example of what not to do. If I were Susan's manager, I would be really troubled by this because Susan did nothing to solve the shopping problem. Sure, there's a chance that the shopping problem or shopping need is bird bath or bird feeder and nothing else. But there's also the chance that the customer is looking for a gift to be put in someone's garden, to be put out on someone's deck, and with a little bit more probing and a little bit more customer care IQ, Susan could have solved the problem. Susan failed to even discover what the problem was, or in this case, problem is probably too dramatic a word. She failed to discover what the need is. If the customer had emailed Crate and Barrel with this question, do you sell bird feeders, then the agent would not have had the opportunity, without a lot of back and forth, to probe so she could solve the problem. In this case, the customer is right there, the chat is right in the moment, and the agent, Susan, should have asked more questions so that she could identify the overall need. Okay, let's go on to the next writing skill, and that is the ability to mix templates and free text. Right now I'm showing you a portion of a full chat transcript with Vonage. This is not the entire chat transcript, it's just a piece of it, but I wanted to show you this small section of it because it's a very interesting mix of templated content and free text content. Let's notice this. The customer is named John and the customer service agent is named Matt. The customer asks, what's the cost of your best plan for small business customers? Even before you read Matt's reply, you can tell by the length of it that it's probably copied and pasted. So John's asked a focus question, what's the cost of your best plan? And I believe that the first response here is templated. Our premium plan, blah, 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 local long distance calling in the U.S., Canada, and Puerto Rico, and there's the answer, is only $49.99 a month plus taxes and fees. You get a free fax line with 20 plus free advanced phone features. The customer replies, okay, that's good. I'm glad to learn about the fax line. Can I keep my existing fax number? Can the Vonage line work with my ancient brother fax machine? And this response, Matt's next response, I believe, is free texted. I think it sounds that way, and I think the length of the sentences and the writing style show that it's free text. It will be able to work with the fax machine. What you will do is, that's very casual language, kind of ad hoc keyboarding. What you will do is place the order with me, then you will call customer care to transfer the actual fax line number over. This sounds, the second response Matt gives sounds like a person talking. It does not sound pre-written. In my opinion, this mix is just fine. If I were Matt's manager, I don't want him to have to keyboard all of the details of the premium unlimited plan. And I don't want to, I want him to be able to use pre-written content so that if the price changes or if there's only 15 free advanced phone features available, that all my agents will have the correct information. So in my opinion, the essential writing skill is the ability to quickly find and incorporate templated content as necessary, and to free text when necessary, and to know the difference in the situations. I don't carry a prejudice against templated content unless there's no reason for it to be templated. For example, empathy statements sound incredibly insincere if they're pre-written. There's no reason to template that. So the kind of material that is prone to keyboarding errors, the kind of material that the organization itself wants to be able to update as needed, these are good candidates. These types of information are good candidates for templates. All right, let's go on to the next example. Actually, I think I had to go backwards. I think I apologize. I missed a previous example, so I'm stepping back here. This is the essential writing skill, the chat-specific writing skill of asking probing questions. And again, in this chat, I'm not showing you the full transcript. I'm showing you a portion of a transcript with Zappos. And I just want you to notice the art and craft that this customer service agent named Annabelle is using as she's helping a customer shop for shoes. When I read through quickly and point out the various questions, I want you to keep in your mind how wide or narrow is the question, because this customer service agent is asking a very interesting series of questions that appear to be widening the discussion and then narrowing it at different points. So the customer starts, I'm shopping at Zappos for shoes that will allow me to walk comfortably. I have nerve damage in my foot. The first question Annabelle asks, okay, so you are looking for walking shoes. This is a rather narrow question, and it narrows the statement the customer made at first, but it gives the agent somewhere to start. And the customer replies, yes, let's start with walking shoes. I need to replace my dress shoes too. Then Annabelle asks a quite narrow question. What size do you wear? I'm calling this a narrow question because there's only one, or in this case, one or two answers to this question. It's not very open-ended. It's quite closed. The customer replies 7 or 7.5. What width are your feet? Again, a very narrow question. And then average width. Then Annabelle asks, okay, what key things are you looking for in a shoe? This is quite a wide question. So sometimes we use a probing series where we start with the widest question and narrow, 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 narrow. That is one way to go. That's one way to sequence the questions. But in this case, we know that the agent is probably doing quite a bit of searching, really fast searching, to offer some shoe suggestions to the customer, and going from narrower to rather wider will give her an opportunity to have found some information to offer along the way in the chat and to see whether the customer likes it. So when I list the writing skill, ask probing questions, I guess to put a fine point on it, each customer service situation might have a different appropriate sequence of probing questions. But when you're recruiting agents to chat with customers, or when you're measuring the quality of their performance, you want to have trained them what sequence of questions works very well in the customer care situations they're handling in chat. So this sequence of probing questions needs to be a planful thing. It needs to be a part of your training, and it needs to help the customer service agent, the chat agent, manage the inflow of information from the customer. Okay? All right, so now we're going to handling delays with grace, which, as I mentioned at the beginning, is a real factor or real feature of the chat world. Some important practices that we always would use in handling delays in chat is telling the customer, I'm about to be away for a moment. I need to have a delay here. I need to look something up in your account. The other kind of delay, when the customer is delayed, we let the customer know, it's fine. I will wait while you do XYZ, whatever it is you need to do. Or often we have to let the customer know how long we will wait if they are silent completely, if they've stepped away. And again, you want to equip your agents with an agreed upon wait time and a small template to tell the customer what that agreed upon wait time is in case the customer has stepped away. In this case, this is a retail chat. This customer service agent, I think, does a good job of handling the delays with grace. The customer asks, what's the status of my return for an order? Vanessa, the customer service agent, says, I'm happy to help you. Please give me one moment to check the status. That last sentence is a work of art, and the humble and not as successful version of that last sentence sometimes is, please give me one moment. You're not handling the delay with grace unless you tell the customer what you're doing during the wait. You need to let the customer know why she's waiting, because if you do that, then you offset the kind of input that you don't want, which is, are you there? Are you there? Are you there? You say, it will take me a minute while I do X for you. The customer says, thanks. Vanessa explains the return package has arrived in the warehouse. The customer asks, are both items in stock? Yes, they're still available. The customer asks, will I get an email with tracking information when they ship? And Vanessa answers, yes, you will. Please hold one moment. There we go again, which is a good phrase to use, and I will see if I can get the shipping date for you. Another example of handling the delay with grace. By telling the customer, I'm going to be stepping away now, but I'm not going to be stepping away forever. This is what I'm doing to help you. Okay, the next writing essential writing skill, is to use a friendly conversational tone. Chat is less formal than other channels. As I said earlier, chat is like written phone, and things that you might not keyboard when you're writing a letter or an email work perfectly well with chat. Anything you type or write in a chat needs to be consistent with your brand voice. It needs to be respectful of the customer. It needs to be professional. But of course, what constitutes professional in a less formal channel, there might be a little bit more latitude there. Here's an example of a chat with Marissa and Rebecca from Nordstrom's. And her chat is upbeat and friendly. Now, I wish we were all together and I could find out if you like all of Rebecca's exclamation points. Some people like them, some people don't, but certainly the tone is warm. Marissa, the chat starts with a hello. Marissa says, are you there? I want to know if I can return items by mail that I bought in a store. And Rebecca types, you may absolutely return your store purchase items to us by mail. And the you may absolutely is just kind of fun and friendly and upbeat, or at least friendly and upbeat, if not fun. Then she continues, you can print a return label directly from our returns page. May I send you a link to this page? That's another best practice. I'm going to squeeze in a number 7. If you have to push a link, ask. Rebecca says you will want to click the section that says print form and label. And that phrasing, you will want to, that's how people talk to each other. That's a natural way to sound. A more formal way to sound might be, in this instance, it is best to click the section that says print form and label, but that's not chat appropriate. It's not friendly enough for chat. Marissa asks, do I include my receipts? You only need to. Thanks for your help. You're very welcome. Have a great day. Could you send me a transcript of this chat? And we have a certainly with an exclamation point. And just the kind of sunny, upbeat back and forth. This is one example of using a friendly conversational tone. In my work with companies that do chat with customers, I've seen really a wide range of friendly conversational writing. When customers are on a chat with a company, they often go to the most conversational, most casual place, and customer service agents who are continuing to offer excellent customer care, I believe that their tone can mirror the customer's tone. The last of the chat transcripts is the one where I'm going to show you about punctuation, grammar, or spelling errors that cause embarrassment or confusion. And I'm interested in your opinion here. Again, if we were in the same place, I would I'm sure I would hear your opinion. Do these errors cause embarrassment? I want to know if I can return the items to you by mail that I bought in the store. Here's the same chat transcript, but I've added the errors so that I could ask your opinion. She says, everything's going along just fine until we get to the end. Thank you. I will email you our chat session with the R spelled incorrectly. And, you know, this is not tragic. It's not cancer. It's not war. It's not the worst thing that ever happened. But paired with the error in the middle that Rebecca makes, you only need to include a copy of your receipt and the original for your records. To me, it's a little bit worrisome. I always think of spelling, punctuation, or grammar errors as having a slight physical weight, like a half an ounce, and they start to add up. The weight of the errors starts to add up. And as we well know, that once a customer starts to notice whether we've made such mistakes, misspelling the word your, misspelling the word our, the customer becomes harder to serve because she's skeptical about the quality of the service, and she's all caught up in her virtual red pen and virtually marking up our writing. So in general, I would say you want to choose agents who don't make these kinds of errors. And the difference in the damage caused by an occasional keyboarding error or an occasional incomplete sentence, that's not very harmful in my opinion. But more than one kind of unsightly spinach in the teeth error, I don't think it's good for the chat because it distracts the customers. Okay, so that's the set of chat transcripts I'd like to share with you. And now what I'd also like to show you is one quality scorecard that you might use to measure chat agents' success in the channel. So many of you are already chatting and you are already using a quality scorecard, I imagine. And so I'm just going to show you the one that my company offers, and you may certainly download this at the post-webinar page where all the materials for the webinar are available, and I'm curious about what you think about it, if it matches your quality scorecard, if the values, the customer service values, the writing values are the same in your quality scorecard and the one that I'm about to show you. Okay, so this is the quality scorecard in one glance. As you can see, there's a total of 14 standards. I'm going to show you them in larger size in the subsequent slides so it's easier for you to see. The best practice that I'm advocating here is that when you develop your quality scorecard, you also pair it with a definitions document. The quality scorecard I'm sharing with you here has a very short definitions document. I usually present it just on the back side of the form, so front side quality scorecard, back side a brief definitions document where we explain what this behavior looks like. If I'm saying to you, you need to answer the customer's question and solve the customer's problem, then I'm beholden to show you, to explain to you, that's what this behavior looks like. And that's what the definitions document includes, or the explanations. Here's how I segmented the skills on the quality scorecard. The first I called Customer Service Essentials, and I separated out these three. I advise that you measure these customer service behaviors, which are kind of pan-channel. Agents need to have these behaviors in any channel they use to deliver service separately from the writing skills. And I boiled it down to three: answer the customer's question correctly, solve the customer's problem. Those are two really important skills. And then for some organizations, validating customer information is an essential chat writing skill, because if the customer chats in to say, I need to update my insurance policy, you don't want the chat to proceed at all until we have the customer's account information as some kind of validation. So these I consider customer service skills, not writing skills per se, customer service skills. The next set of skills on the quality scorecard I called chat handling skills, and here these are, of course, very familiar to you. They're not identical one-to-one to the 6 writing skills, but I'll show them. Complete the chat in a reasonable amount of time. Yes, I know reasonable is a weasel word, but what is reasonable for one organization might not be reasonable for another. And within your own chat community, you've decided what reasonable time is. Ask probing questions, manage delays, push helpful content, personalize the chat by writing in a conversational tone and by mentioning information the customer has shared, incorporating it, and use templates correctly. I called those chat handling skills. And lastly is the section chat writing skills. Free text when necessary. Use a friendly tone. Write in your brand's voice. So whichever tone your marketing department uses to communicate with the world at large should influence your customer service tone. Match the level of technical sophistication or expertise. So if you're offering technical information and you can tell from the customer's comments in the chat that he or she's not savvy, then you adjust your writing style in the chat so she can follow your instructions, or he can. And lastly, I just went ahead and said use correct spelling, grammar, and punctuation. I don't care if it's old-fashioned. I believe it. So there we go. That was a brief overview of chat writing skills, a brief look at 6 transcripts or sections of transcripts, and a brief look at a quality scorecard, which I hope you will use or refer to, and I absolutely hope you will share your opinions about it with me. And with that, I turn it over to you, Ross.
Great, Leslie. Thank you so much. One of the questions that we get pretty frequently about chat, besides sort of how do we do it successfully, how do we make sure we achieve high satisfaction ratings, so forth and so on, another question we get is just kind of a business-related question. How do we make an ROI calculation? And a lot of companies also believe what we know to be a myth, which is that you can't really achieve ROI with chat unless you are using chat in a sales setting, which is not true. And I thought I would address that question directly and show some of the ways in which ROI calculations can be made when chat's being utilized strictly in a support setting. So some of the inputs to consider are here, and we've sort of categorized them into 6 categories. Some of the factors that determine a chat ROI, they fall into cost, productivity, service levels, quality, staffing, and contact handling. So everyone's ROI calculation can be different depending on what you optimize for in your organization. So let me give you an example. So we have some customers who care very much about and really run their organization around measuring NPS score, Net Promoter Score. And so if that is your metric, then the inputs with which you would make an ROI calculation would be different than, say, someone who uses a different metric or a different set of metrics. Like first engagement resolution rates or something like that. So you need to gather these, the relevant ones for your business, depending on sort of how you measure things and incentivize your agents. But some of them you can see here. Average speed of answer is one that usually matters a lot to people. You must have some metrics around costs. Through other channels, those will also be necessary. So I think the way to sort of simplify this is we know that chat really can pull 2 pretty significant levers in support organizations. One, it can deliver cost savings. And it delivers cost savings primarily because of one of the unique things about chat, which is the ability to take more than one chat at a time, which I think is really relevant to all of the stuff that Leslie went over, because maintaining all of those skills becomes much more complicated when you have to do it with 2, 3, 4, 5 chats simultaneously. And the reason I bring that up is because one of the keys to success for a live chat implementation is finding, hiring, and retaining the right agents. And what that means is that the skill sets that they need are somewhat different than the skill sets of, say, a phone agent. Phone agents, really good phone agents are very adept at one-on-one communication with one person, real good listening skills, good empathy skills, things like that. And it's not that those don't matter in chat, they do, but the real ability to multitask and to do so quickly is a skill that is really necessary to be a good and successful chat operator. And doing all those things while maintaining good writing skills is further complicates it. But because of chat's inherent ability to handle multiple customers concurrently, that obviously has a headcount that can have headcount savings. It can have increased agent efficiency savings. So you can basically do more with less. We also know that chat is highly satisfying for customers. We know this from our own set of research. We know it anecdotally from speaking to our customers. We know it from benchmarking. So we have an after chat survey in our built into our product, and many of our customers use it. And if you look at the average score, and it's 1 to 5, where 5 is the best. If you look at the average score across all of the chats happening inside of our infrastructure, the average is 4.5. So we know chat is very satisfying. We also know, because we have customers who have shown increases in their NPS score by using chat, we also can measure NPS in the after chat survey. And so increased satisfaction, we know there's lots of bright lines associated with what that does from a tenure standpoint and so forth and so on. So even in a support-only setting, there's certainly an ROI case that could be made for live chat. Just give you some statistics around this, and these come from some of the analysts groups that are out there, Gartner and Yankee Group. The phone is usually, a phone call is about 4 times the cost of a chat. So chat can be much more efficient than a phone call. Chat agents can handle anywhere between 4 and 6 simultaneous conversations. We recommend 3 as a place to start. I've seen as many as 8 with probably one of the best chat agents I've ever observed, but we tell folks if they don't know where to start with 3. If you're hiring someone new and they are just onboarding, obviously start with 1, but that doesn't last very long usually. People get the hang of it pretty quickly. Chat agent productivity increases when you add chat into your organization. Agent productivity can increase anywhere between 35 to 75%. Again, just some numbers associated with some of the analyst research that's been done out there. So, kind of in the final analysis, when you're thinking about making a live chat ROI calculation, I'm giving you some of the inputs there, little advice on how to do it. Also, there is some benchmarking data that we have available on our website that can be helpful in making some estimates around some of these things if you're new to chat. So standalone chat ROI, the payback, if you use the payback sort of methodology, really is often measured in some number of months. This is how much we paid for the licenses. This is how much the live chat agents are costing fully burdened. And usually the return based on cost savings to the contact center, increased customer service, increased NPS scores, you really measure that in some number of months. It takes less than a year usually. A piece of advice for you, which would further enhance your ability to achieve ROI, is once you have a chat agent, what that basically means you have someone adept at communicating through text. Well, there are other text-based channels, and we know consumers use them, as I showed earlier in some of the research that we've done, just with like mobile devices, for example. We know people are using email, and they're chatting, and they're using social media. So we know that to be true. And we also know that if you add other text-based work to a already trained text agent, you can increase their efficiency pretty significantly. We also know that if you add phone call to a text-based agent, you will negatively impact their efficiency. We've done a lot of studies on this. There's other groups who have done studies on this, and having agents simultaneously try and take phone calls and chats is just a bad idea. But if you simultaneously give them other text-based work to work on, like emails, like Twitter conversations, like texting, text-based SMS conversations. If you give agents those pieces of work alongside of chats, their efficiency actually goes up. So that's another way to achieve a live chat ROI. And with that, I think we've ended just about perfectly, leaving 10 or 15 minutes for some questions, and I know there are lots of questions there. So at this point, I'll hand it over to our moderator to walk us through the Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you, Ross and Leslie. Certainly so much great information shared today. And we did promise earlier to save some time for audience questions, so we will get right to those in a moment. I would ask, if you don't mind, just taking a quick moment. We would greatly appreciate if you could just take a moment and fill out the survey that's just been pushed out to you. We want to know how we did today and how we can improve for the future, so appreciate your time on that. But let's get to some audience questions. As Ross said, we've had a lot of really good ones coming in, so I thank you for that, and please feel free to keep them coming. But Leslie, I'm going to direct this first question to you. Someone in the audience would like to know if you have any recommendations for assessing skills when you're selecting agents to handle chat.
Sure, I do. I'll give my suggestions in 3 parts. Okay, the first one is going to be the most obvious. I would say put the person who's interviewing for the role into a pretend chat. You know, if you don't offer chat yet and you're trying to figure out who would be good at chat and you actually don't have a chat system yet, go ahead and use SMS. You know, tell the person you can text as much as you want because you don't have to keep it to just 1 or 2 words, but put the person with a live partner into a chat situation so that you can see how they do. So that's the first thing. The second thing I would say is reflect on how well they did in another written channel. So if you are looking at a person who's been an email agent, see if they were good at writing email, especially at the free texting parts of writing email. If the person has never delivered service in another written channel, then you will be looking at the skills that carry over to phone service. So they're not identical, they're similar. What about probing questions? What about efficiency? When this person's on the phone, can she take a call from start to finish efficiently without hurrying the customer? And the third thing I would say is give the agent some real chat transcripts to look at and ask for her reactions about what the agent did well or poorly when interacting with the customer. So you're going to get the person, number 1, in a live writing situation. Number 2, you're going to reflect on the quality of that person's written service in another channel, hopefully in email. And 3, you're going to let her look at some transcripts and see what she has to say about them so that you're getting all the reactions you can before you move that person over.
Great advice. Thank you, Leslie. Ross, I have a question for you that just came in. I'd love to know your thoughts here. Would you recommend handle time as a good way to measure agent productivity, or concurrent handle time, chats per hour, or other? What's your advice here?
Okay, so there's lots of different ways to measure agent productivity. Some common ones are just number of chats handled. So that's sort of one metric, and you can choose your time frame there. I think the handle time is an interesting one because, and by the way, yes, you should measure handle time, but do not enforce a handle time similar to phone calls, because chat handle times are longer, actually, than phone calls, simply because it takes longer to type than it does to speak. So what you'll have to do is, over time, look at what an average handle time is for successful chats and use that, establish that as the benchmark. And you're really looking for chat agents who are sort of always exceeding that or always under it. That's where the kind of training opportunities are. And so I would do number of chats handled, average handle time. I'd set a benchmark there. I definitely, for chat agents that are skilled enough to take multiple chats, which should be most of them, I would definitely look at the average number of concurrent chats that they're handling. Because if it's 1, then you're just losing a ton of efficiency there. Those are some of the things I would look at. And then, you have to balance those with satisfaction scores as well. So if someone's really fast, but they're fundamentally not getting good satisfaction scores, obviously that's not good. So I'd measure some of the satisfaction metrics as well, like responsiveness, knowledge. Those are some of the ones in our after chat survey.
Okay. Thank you, Ross. And one more question for you. Do you have any data around the optimal time for initial response to customer chat initiation?
Yes. So if you answer the chat in 10 seconds or under from the time that the person hits the button, submit my initial question, my name, my email address, whatever you ask for, and the chat kind of starts ringing in the agent interface, if you answer it in 10 seconds or under, then something like 90% of the chats that get started end up becoming real chats. Past 10 seconds and people start to give up at a kind of increasing rate depending on how long it takes you. So you really want to be as responsive as you possibly can and try and do it in under 10 seconds. We have some customers who set it in under 30 seconds. We have some who try and do it in under 20 seconds. And they're simply willing to deal with the abandonment of some number of chats, people who won't wait that long. But you definitely don't want to, it's not measured in minutes, certainly.
Okay. Thanks so much, Ross. So Leslie, back to you with a writing-related question. If an agent does happen to commit a typo while they're free typing, do you think it's okay to apologize to the guest, or is it better to ignore it?
I love the phrasing, commit a typo, like commit a murder. It does matter how bad the typo is and how fast the chat engagement is going, but it's absolutely okay to correct it or say, if you type if you type something wrong, like instead of airplane you type airfare for some reason, then you would say sorry, airplane. Yes, absolutely. It's okay. Is it required? It depends on the severity of the error, whether you're making a lot of errors, and whether the customer is chatting quickly. Some customers are very responsive, very quick, and they're fully engaged in the chat. They're not distracted, and it's all happening very quickly. For those, you need to keep going. You don't want to make them wait. So you can correct, but you have to keep going with the flow. For somebody who's less responsive, you may have a little bit more time.
Okay, perfect. And while we're on the topic of grammar, Leslie, this is a question that I hear quite frequently. Can a person who has sloppy grammar and punctuation skills be good at chat?
Sloppy, you say. Sloppy. Sloppy means the person could be using grammar and punctuation correctly and doesn't care. And I say if you don't care about your grammar, spelling, and punctuation, then you're probably in a don't care mode, and that's not good. You're not going to be a good customer service agent if you don't care. But we all know people who have excellent customer service skills and very good writing skills who are bad spellers. This is very commonplace. That person can be good at chat. You want to be sure that the chat system is configured with some spell check help. You want to be sure that if this person's spelling problems are related to product names, that she has access to templates so she doesn't have to keyboard things she can't spell correctly. And you want to equip an excellent customer service agent who's a bad speller with kind of fun things to say to deflect any errors she might make. But sloppy, I don't care, that's not going to make good service in chat. Unable to spell very well, but I do care and I'm ready to cover my problems as best I can, that's going to be fine.
Okay, makes sense. So one more question for you, Leslie, that just came in. Regarding typos, what are your thoughts on issuing a disclaimer at the beginning of the chat conversation?
Well, I've never encountered that, as in if the kind of disclaimer that might say, this is a live chat, we're typing quickly, and all spelling errors, please forgive us. I don't know. I don't think I would start a chat predicting that I might make an error. If you're typing something that's legally binding, for example, you might need that disclaimer, but I don't think I would start with the disclaimer. And I think, I wouldn't overreact to a spelling error or consider it to have the same heft as a deficit in some of the other writing skills I mentioned, as in you failed to solve my problem. They just don't weigh the same. So I don't think I would start a chat with a disclaimer that pre-apologizes for an error in spelling. I just don't think I would do that. If a disclaimer is necessary because of the topic of the chat, I wouldn't present it at the beginning.
Okay, great advice. So Ross, back to you. One of our audience members would like to know, from your experience, why is it a bad idea for chat and phone calls to be handled at the same time?
So the reason is because the phone call requires just complete attention. A. B, we all know that even on the phone, the agent has stuff to do, right? They're looking up accounts, they're looking in an inventory system, they're looking in. So what that means is that the chat conversation, if there is one, it's just so easy to ignore it. And it ends up getting ignored, and a lot of hello there, are you there? Very bad experience for the chatter, because the telephone is just so demanding of a channel from an agent's standpoint. So that's the reason. Now, does that mean that you can't you can't do it? You can, but here's how I would suggest doing it. It's perfectly reasonable to think that you have agents who are good at both. There are agents who are good at both the phone and chatting, just not simultaneously. So you could, through shift scheduling or whatever, an agent can move back and forth between the channels, but just don't ever put them when they're on the phone, they need to be on the phone. By the way, they can do other things like email communication. That's okay, because that's just so asynchronous it doesn't matter. But if they're on chat or if they're on the phone, you have to pick one of those because they're just so real time. Absolutely.
And I've certainly been a customer on the receiving end of that multitasking, and doesn't make for the best experience. Good advice there. Well, I'm afraid that we have come to the end of our hour, so just a couple quick announcements. First of all, thank you so much, Leslie and Ross, for your time today, and I want to thank all you guys for tuning in. I do see that we have more questions coming into the Q&A, so we'll be sure to follow up with each of you offline to make sure that your questions get answered. Also, I want to let you know that you will be receiving an email in the next couple of days that will give you instructions to view the on-demand version of the presentation. And you can actually also download a PDF version of the slides directly to this console shortly after we end. One other thing, Leslie did mention that you'd be able to download her quality form, and so I'm going to push out a link for you guys right now. If you click that link, it'll take you to a form where you can download that form. We'll also include a link to that in the follow-up emails that we send with the directions for viewing the on-demand presentation. So with that, once again, I just thank you guys so much for your time today. Before we go, I do need to mention that this presentation is copyright 2015 by ICMI. The presentation materials are owned by or copyrighted by ICMI, which is solely responsible for its content, and our sponsors are responsible for their content. On behalf of ICMI, our speakers, and our sponsor, Bold Chat by Log Me In, we thank you for attending today and hope you have a great afternoon.